Blockchain en bitcoin, je hoort ze vaak. Maar wat is blockchain eigenlijk? Om je dat uit te leggen, laten we je als voorbeeld kennis maken met dit studentenhuis. Deze 4 studenten delen alles. De boodschappen, de klusjes en de kosten voor internet, water, gas en licht. In een schriftje houden ze dat allemaal bij. Ook schrijven ze hierin wanneer iemand iets voor een ander voorschiet. Maar 1 huisgenoot lijkt wel heel veel over te houden. Ze vertrouwen het niet. Loopt hij te knoeien? Wat nu? Ze kunnen de huisbaas vragen of zij het schriftje wil bijhouden, maar ze willen niet dat de huisbaas alles van ze weet. Er is nog een oplossing. Alle huisgenoten krijgen een identieke kopie van het schriftje en iedereen houdt hierin alles bij. Niemand kan stiekem een nulletje bijschrijven, iets vergeten of stiekem iets wegkrassen, want dan zijn de schriftjes niet meer gelijk. De studenten controleren regelmatig samen of in alle schriftjes nog steeds hetzelfde staat. Nogal omslachtig natuurlijk, zo op papier, maar zo werkt de blockchain ook ongeveer, maar dan digitaal. Een gezamenlijke boekhouding, zonder huisbaas dus, zonder bank, maar wel op zo'n manier dat alle huisgenoten het kunnen vertrouwen. Al het ruilverkeer wordt in de blockchain bijgehouden en moet worden goedgekeurd door andere gebruikers in het blockchain-netwerk. In de blockchain verstuur je niets meer dan digitale informatie. Bij digitale munten, bitcoin en Ethereum verstuur je digitaal geld met wat extra informatie over de afzender en de bestemming. Maar je kan met de blockchain meer dan geld versturen en een gezamenlijk schriftje bijhouden. Daarvoor even terug naar het studentenhuis. Een van de studenten gaat weg en in zijn kamer komt een ander. Via de blockchain kunnen heel makkelijk de betaalverplichtingen hiervoor worden overgedragen aan de nieuwe bewoner. Zonder dat een van de studenten de pineut is als de nieuwe huisgenoot niet netjes betaalt. En je kan in de blockchain ook dingen programmeren. Bijvoorbeeld dat als de studenten geld terugkrijgen aan het einde van de maand, dit pas vrijkomt als de klusjes zijn gedaan en de anderen dit hebben gecontroleerd. De blockchain is voor heel veel te gebruiken. Alles dat je samen doet en deelt kun je vastleggen in de blockchain. Ook buiten het studentenhuis. Je hebt geen notarissen, banken en zelfs voor veel dingen geen overheid meer nodig. En daarom denken experts dat in de toekomst zomaar eens ons hele leven op de blockchain zou kunnen draaien.
Satoshi Nakamoto invented Bitcoin and, more importantly, its underlying blockchain technology. No matter what the future price of Bitcoin may be, the real treasure is blockchain, because it's going to change the world as much as the internet did in the 1990s. Satoshi Nakamoto was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Economics, and he is a multi-billionaire. And yet, no one knows what he actually looks like. He might not even be a single person, and the name may serve as a cover for a group who came together for the sake of starting a digital revolution. On today's Biographics, we're going to go over what we know about this little-known figure, as well as the theories behind his secret identity. In the 1980s and 90s, the closest thing you had to a cool gang of rebellious computer hackers was the cypherpunks. They were computer programmers who were interested in creating absolute privacy in the digital world. They specialized in creating ciphers that were nearly impossible to break into. Many of them were anarchists and libertarians who believed that everyone should be connected online without government interference. Sadly, as we now know, the internet is anything but free from the watchful eyes of the NSA. Many of these cypherpunks experimented in the idea that the internet could be used to send digital money without the use of a middleman. David Chaum invented DigiCash in 1989, and he published an academic paper on the subject. Another one of the cypherpunks, Nick Szabo, created BitGold. All of these, they were close, but no cigar. Even though the cypherpunks had this idea conceived, they couldn't actually come up with a technical way to accomplish a true peer-to-peer experience. You see, when you're using the internet, you're depending on your internet service provider, and they may need to abide by the laws of each respective country. With apps like PayPal and Venmo, sending money to your friends, it probably seems like an instant peer-to-peer experience, at least for you as the customer. But behind the scenes, these companies still have to settle bank transactions the old-fashioned way. This is 3 days worth of paperwork through an antiquated and expensive system called SWIFT. If this sounds ridiculous in this day and age, that's because it really is. The global digital banking system has been long due an overhaul. Further, after the 2008 stock market crash, the world was primed and ready for a financial revolution. In October of 2008, someone going by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto wrote a paper called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. He began to email all the cypherpunks, asking if they were willing to help him create his idea of a new system that he called blockchain. This was a computer network that truly was peer-to-peer. There would be no fear that your internet service provider would shut it down. The blockchain is basically an accounting system that records all transactions on a public ledger. Instead of the US dollar, value would be exchanged in a digital currency called Bitcoin. New Bitcoins have to be created by mining, which is a process of computers attempting to solve a difficult maths problem. Once the cipher is solved, the miner is rewarded with a Bitcoin. In the beginning, one Bitcoin was only worth fractions of a penny. Back then, any run-of-the-mill computer you just got from your local Best Buy could handle mining Bitcoin, and anyone could receive and deposit the currency in their digital wallet. The blockchain itself exists in the cloud, which is a sort of hive mind that does not exist in any physical location. This means that no government in the world has the ability to shut it down, because as long as there are miners somewhere out there in the world who are running the blockchain, Bitcoin will continue to exist. Even though it was the solution they had been searching for, many of the cypherpunks ignored Satoshi Nakamoto's ideas. The thing is, they weren't kids anymore. They were in their 40s and 50s, and they'd already tried and failed to make their own digital currencies. The idea of Bitcoin, it was so radical that it seemed like something out of a science fiction movie. But one computer programmer from California named Hal Finney saw its potential, and he was the first person to take Satoshi Nakamoto seriously. He asked to work on the Bitcoin project for free, and on January 3rd, 2009, Bitcoin was first launched. Hal Finney and Satoshi Nakamoto have never met face-to-face, and they've never spoken over the phone. Nakamoto left his email address on the Bitcoin website, allowing anyone to contact him with any questions that they might have about the project. This led to many other programmers joining in and helping them. In the very beginning, this idea was only popular to anarchists and libertarians who had the goal of living their lives free from governmental rule. While they are small in number, this community is incredibly passionate about their philosophies to this very day. They were the first ones to cling on to this Bitcoin revolution, and many called Satoshi Nakamoto a hero. Of course, once the word got out that Bitcoin was a way to transfer money privately, it was almost immediately adopted by criminals. In 2011, a website called the Silk Road appeared in a web browser called Tor, which is used to browse the dark web. The founder and kingpin of the Silk Road goes by the name of Dread Pirate Roberts, like the character from The Princess Bride. You can buy anything on the Silk Road, including human slaves and hit orders from assassins, and most of these transactions, they're all done in Bitcoin. In 2013, a 29-year-old man named Ross Ulbricht was arrested under suspicion of being the Dread Pirate Roberts. In 2015, he was convicted of conspiracy to transfer narcotics, and since he was labeled as an evil kingpin, he was given not just 1, but 2 life sentences, plus an additional 40 years, without the possibility of parole. The average Silk Road drug dealer only got 5 to 10 years behind bars. Most people in the cryptocurrency community believe that Ulbricht was just a patsy, and the real Dread Pirate Roberts has gone free. The FBI seized Ross Ulbricht's cache of bitcoins and auctioned them off to the highest bidder. While Ulbricht was in solitary confinement, someone else logged into the Dread Pirate Roberts account on the Silk Road. Either he had passed the account to another kingpin, or they truly did arrest the wrong man. So once Bitcoin started getting a lot of bad press, Satoshi Nakamoto was very upset to see how his project was being used for evil. The last known person to have communicated with Satoshi Nakamoto was Gavin Andresen, a programmer who looked up to Nakamoto as his mentor and hero. When the FBI and CIA came looking for Satoshi Nakamoto, Gavin Andresen agreed to speak with them about Bitcoin on the mysterious founder's behalf because he wanted to help educate them about what blockchain technology actually is. This must have frightened Nakamoto because he completely cut off ties with the rest of the original Bitcoin team. Since then, Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin public wallet address has remained untouched. Even in 2017, when the price ballooned to $20,000 per coin, he has never withdrawn his money. He should be one of the richest men in the world, but he has decided not to spend a penny of it. For people who were paying attention to Bitcoin since its inception, many found that they could turn blockchain technology into an opportunity to make their own businesses. Since the code for blockchain was open source and free for anyone to use, it could be improved and built upon. Boy genius Vitalik Buterin was just 17 years old when he began to learn how to code blockchain and founded Bitcoin magazine. He gained a lot of respect from people who were much older than he was, and he proposed a new project called Ethereum. This wasn't just another coin to compete with Bitcoin, though. It was far faster and cheaper, and people could build their own businesses upon the Ethereum platform. These were called ICOs, or initial coin offerings. Unfortunately, though, the vast majority of these cryptocurrency businesses were and still are total scams. The government agencies of the world, they suddenly had a whole lot more to worry about than just Bitcoin because uneducated people around the world started to dump their life savings into fraudulent companies in the hopes that it would be the next Bitcoin. At the moment, there are very few alternative coins that are legitimate companies and not simply scams. At the time this video was made, the number 2 cryptocurrency in the world is Ripple. This is because they're an actual corporation led by the former CEO of AOL, Brad Garlinghouse. They have offices in multiple countries where they have hundreds of employees working to educate major corporations about what blockchain can help them do. They are already working hand in hand with the Federal Reserve and have contracts with over 200 banks who have agreed to use their currency, XRP, to settle trillions of dollars in bank transactions in the future. While many of the leaders in traditional finance and tech are trying to figure out how to incorporate blockchain in the real world, there are the purists who still passionately believe in the anarchist ideals of the cypherpunks and of Satoshi Nakamoto. Many of these original followers were made multi-millionaires by their initial investments. While some of these people were coders who understood blockchain technology, the majority of them had no background in computer science at all and were supporting Bitcoin simply for the fact that they believed in its philosophy. Satoshi Nakamoto was never the CEO of Bitcoin because it's not even a business entity. He was never trying to be a leader, but the level of reverence that some people have for him has been compared to a cult on multiple occasions. Without a leader to guide them, Bitcoin believers debate over the question of what would Satoshi do. They quote and analyze his old emails and his publications. The Reddit boards are filled with heated debates trying to interpret Satoshi's words as if they're their Bible. At this point in time, Bitcoin transactions take several hours or even days to go through, and they cost roughly $40 in fees per transaction. It's got to the point where it's almost as expensive and as slow as the old-school banking system. The idea of saying Bitcoin will be around forever is kind of like saying that dial-up internet should still be around too. Even though the tech has been in a serious downward spiral and other companies like Ripple have drastically improved upon blockchain technology in recent years, much of the Bitcoin community is just in total denial. They continue to have blind faith in the original Bitcoin and in a man or group who isn't even around anymore to give their input. The original programmer of Bitcoin, Hal Finney, suffered from ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. If you weren't already aware, this is the same neurodegenerative disease that immobilized Stephen Hawking. It's where someone's brain is fully functional, but they no longer have control over their body. The timeline of Hal Finney's condition getting worse actually lines up with Satoshi Nakamoto deciding to disappear. Andy Greenberg, a senior writer at Wired magazine, made the connection, and he believed that he had cracked the case, so he went to interview him. At this point, Hal Finney was in a wheelchair and he could no longer speak. He could only answer yes or no questions. Greenberg asked point blank if it's true that he was Satoshi Nakamoto. Finney's eyes glistened in amusement, and he promptly responded, no. Even though Hal Finney has become a multimillionaire from mining Bitcoin in the early days of the project, no amount of money could save him from the disease, but maybe he could postpone the inevitable. On the brink of death, Finney requested that his body be cryogenically frozen in the hopes that someday he would be unfrozen and given the cure to ALS. In 2014, he passed away and his body was transported to a lab in Arizona. Just 2 miles away from Hal Finney's home, the FBI showed up on someone's property with a warrant. They dragged out a man with black hair and glasses and arrested him under suspicion of being the mysterious founder of Bitcoin. He insisted over and over that he had no idea what they were talking about. His full legal name? Well, that would be Dorian Satoshi Nakamoto. After the paparazzi showed up at his doorstep, the news falsely reported that Dorian Satoshi Nakamoto was the true founder of Bitcoin. This sent him into the spotlight of the media, and he had to go on record with the Associated Press insisting that he did not have anything to do with the project and that someone had clearly taken his name as a pseudonym. Today, Dorian Nakamoto has been affectionately titled the fake Satoshi, and members of the community actually love him. His face was even turned into a meme. Many people felt sorry that he was dragged into this and even donated bitcoins to him as a sort of sorry for the mix-up. In 2017, those donations inflated to be worth $273,000, and he quickly cashed out at just the right time. Today, Dorian Nakamoto has actually embraced the community, and he now enjoys being a celebrity and taking photos with his fans. Then, in 2015, yet another potential candidate emerged in the media. US authorities raided the home of an Australian man named Dr. Craig Wright. In 2016, Wright agreed to do multiple press interviews claiming that he was the real Satoshi Nakamoto. When he gave his evidence to journalists, they were satisfied, not knowing that he had pulled the equivalent of a technical parlor trick.
Some people will believe, some people won't. And to tell you the truth, I don't really care.
Most people don't know how easy it is to fake this kind of proof on blockchain, so it has been published in multiple venues that he is the real Satoshi Nakamoto. But after seeing the likes of the BBC and The Economist vouching for him, many people in the cult of Satoshi began to believe that their messiah had returned and he was back to tell them exactly what to do with their money. During a public interview, boy genius Vitalik Buterin gave a number of examples of how Craig Wright could have faked this so-called proof, and he gave examples of how he should have proven that he was the real Satoshi Nakamoto, but he had failed to do so. Buterin said, "Signaling theory says that if you have a good way to prove something and you have a noisy way to do it, then the reason why you picked the noisy way was because you couldn't do the good way in the first place." Craig Wright is, in fact, profiting off his sudden claim to fame. He is an outspoken showman appearing before crowds making promises about Bitcoin's future. In reality, he has started his own company, and the promises he makes are actually not that impressive where the tech is concerned. He made millions of dollars from investors simply by claiming that he is the real Satoshi Nakamoto. In many ways, he seems to be like the Wizard of Oz, but many have not been fooled. In February of 2018, Craig Wright was sued for stealing $10 billion of cryptocurrency assets from his former business partners. The lawsuit is still ongoing, so at the time we're making this video, we can't be sure of the outcome. A journalist named Andrew Hagen has done a very deep dive into the Craig Wright case, and he has discovered that Wright also lost a lot of money in the past from a cryptocurrency firm called Liberty Reserve in Costa Rica. Wright also met face-to-face with Ross Ulbricht soon before his arrest. So why on earth would this millionaire businessman be associating with a drug dealer from the Silk Road? Some people theorize that Wright isn't Satoshi Nakamoto at all, and he may actually be the true Dread Pirate Roberts. There are dozens of theories of who Satoshi Nakamoto truly is, from Elon Musk to the NSA. One of Musk's former interns at SpaceX, Sahil Gupta, wrote a comprehensive blog post on Medium as to why he believed that his former boss was the real Satoshi Nakamoto. This caused such a stir that Elon Musk had to tweet that he was not the founder of Bitcoin. Everyone, of course, has a very passionate reason for believing that their theory is the correct one. Whoever he is, we may never have seen Satoshi Nakamoto in the news at all, even under another name. It's very possible that he knew better than to put himself in the limelight, and it would be impossible to guess his identity if he kept in the shadows. But if Satoshi Nakamoto is still alive, and if he is truly just one man or even a group of people, why haven't they touched those billions of dollars that are sitting in their Bitcoin wallet? Is there really a person on this planet with the willpower to resist that kind of temptation? And what does he think about the corrupt system that Bitcoin has become? In 2012, Satoshi Nakamoto wrote in an email to one of the original core developers of Bitcoin, Mike Hearn, that Ripple is interesting in that it's the only other system that does something with trust beside concentrate it into a central server. What he is basically saying is that it's the only other coin he considered a real contender and admits that it's truly truly an improvement on Bitcoin. In his last email, he also wrote that he'd given up on Bitcoin and wanted to work on another project without giving any details as to what that new project actually was. And this leads us to our final theory: David Schwartz, who is now the lead cryptographer at Ripple. In 1988, Schwartz filed a patent of a distributive computer network before the existence of the internet. In a lot of ways, his idea was almost identical to Bitcoin 20 years before Satoshi Nakamoto appeared on the scene. Schwartz is no stranger to using aliases either, and he went by the pseudonym Joel Katz online for many years. There is no denying that he was intelligent enough to come up with this on his own. Schwartz has used his knowledge to turn the Ripple ecosystem into a product that is far more sustainable than Bitcoin ever was. It doesn't need to be mined. Their transactions are settled within a few seconds, and each transfer costs a fraction of a penny. Banks around the world are already beginning to use the Ripple network because it's the only one that's even remotely possible to use in the real world. David Schwartz has an estimated net worth of $90 million. If Ripple succeeds as much as many believe it will, he may become a billionaire at some point in the future. This would serve as a rational explanation as to why he hasn't touched the fortune in Bitcoin, is because he doesn't want the possibility that it may lead back to him and he became so rich with Ripple that he doesn't actually need it. When presented with this theory, David Schwartz denies it, of course, but that's probably what the real Satoshi would totally say. So I really hope you found that video interesting. I know it was a little different from our normal videos here, with us not really knowing anything about the man, but there you have it. I do hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like if you did. Leave us a comment. Let me know what you thought. If you're looking for something else to check out, why not check out my other channel called Top 10s? You'll find a link to that below this video. And as always, thank you for watching.